hey, it looks like I made an upgrade. Now I have a whiteboard and a marker and an eraser, and now I get to do stuff with colors, and it's going to be so much cooler. And now nobody gets to say, hey, look at that guy with the notebook and the pen, and why is it like that? That's like the 2005 YouTube. Now you don't get to say that anymore, Jessica. God. Whatever. All right. So today we're going to look at inheritance. We're going to take a closer look at inheritance, which is why this video is called Inheritance, a closer look. Now, inheritance isn't as simple as just making a simple Punnett square and being like, oh, hey, look at that. It's gonna just be just like that. What I got, it's gonna be these traits. Well, sorry to say this, it's a lot more complicated than that. Additional factors at a single locus affect the genes. What's a locus? Well, a locus is basically just a location on the specific gene. Additional factors at a specific location of the chromosome can affect the genes. Now, there are several different kinds of dominance. You've heard of dominant genes, right? Well, here in dominance, we have three kinds of dominance. We have complete, where one of the factors is dominant. You have okay. Now, you guys are probably already familiar with dominant. We have dominant genes, which I'll represent as big R, and recessive, which I'll represent as little r. Sometimes you'll get both dominant, sometimes you'll get both recessive, and sometimes you'll get them mixed. And you may think, all right, well, if it's mixed, then it's the dominant one that gets expressed. If it's this, well, then both get expressed. And if it's like this, well, there's no dominant, so the recessive gets expressed. That's basic, but things are going to get complicated. So there are three kinds of dominance. One which is complete, which is like this. Hey, look, one is dominant, that's the one that gets expressed. The other is incomplete. What do I mean? Well, you know how when you were doing problems and you thought, well, if it's like this, that means they both get expressed at the same time, kind of, like it's a mix. And then their professor said, nope, that's wrong. Well, in this case, it's actually right. So, in incomplete dominance, in this specific type of dominance, what happens is big R, all right, we're going to get fully green. And big R and little r, we'll get, oh, it's a mix of white and green. I'm representing this as stripe because I can't do shading. And if it's little r, then you get white. So in other words, for incomplete dominance, you get, So in other words, for incomplete dominance, you express within a range. You have this range of fully expressing the dominant, fully expressing the recessive, and everything that falls in between. And usually what we get is a 1-to-1 ratio for this. 1 to 1. Now, we also have codominant, where it expresses both at the same time. And this is different from incomplete, because for codominant, you're not expressing within a range. You're expressing both at the same time. This, very frequently you see this in like blood types, where it expresses the phenotypes of both genes. Now let's go over some definitions. Penetrance, that's the percentage of expected phenotype. Incomplete penetrance, that's the percentage of unexpected phenotype. And the expressivity is the degree to which the traits are expressed. Now, expressivity and incomplete penetrance occur due to effects of the other genes and also the environment. Another term is lethal alleles. This concept is like if a match, like let's say two recessive alleles comes together and it results in a death, or maybe it's two dominant alleles, or maybe it's the combination of the dominant and the recessive together that causes death. We don't know, but for certain genes, that's their expression results in death during the development.